welcome to episode 66 of the Waste of Web Space podcast.
Starring
Jimbo
and Fisher.
And we must say, first of all, that this is our first ever live episode. So anything could go wrong, and nothing could go right.
It's the first live episode that we're actually broadcasting, surely.
Yeah.
Every episode that we do is live.
Well,
it's just people happen to watch it later on. They can now watch this live.
Okay, so in that case, we potentially could have live viewers. Does that make more sense? Maybe.
Yeah, I suppose so. It's the only one that we're actually doing a live broadcast on, is what I would say, Jimbo.
For those people that maybe are just tuning in for the first time then, we normally have a different episode title, don't we? And particularly over lockdown, with having more time on my hands and so on, or a little bit more time on my hands, not as much recently, but particularly at the start, we were making parody songs, weren't we, for our song, for our episode titles, basically. So we've got one today as well. And obviously, with this being our first ever live broadcast, this title of this podcast is called Idiots on a Stream. Are you ready?
Okay. Do I have to sing either the part of Kenny Rogers or Dolly Parton on this, by the way?
You could do the ahas at the end if you like.
Okay.
Is that right? Idiots on a stream. That is what we are. Watchers on your phone, listen in your car. Cheap, low quality jokes from Fish and me. Talk about the news with each other, and we'll quiz one another, So, I mean, I thought, for those that are tuning in for the first time, it's quite an accurate description of the show, isn't it? Low quality jokes. We talk about the news and stuff. You can listen in your cars, people do. In fact, we had somebody get in touch. I think it was somebody Pamela, is that right? Got in touch to sort of say that she's a lot of podcasts that she's been listening to have stopped because of the pandemic, and so they've not been able to record in the same way. So she's been short of material, so she's listening to us instead. No, which is good.
Very short of material.
I think it's a compliment, but she said she said you're not going to stop your podcast, are you? And I said, of course we're not. Of course we're not.
Of course not. If anything, we're going to do more.
Well, we'll try his best. But yeah, and also we had a message as well saying that we've got another listener as well who Pam knows, but I can't remember their name. But I'll try and get it by the end of this podcast so I can give them a good shout out. How are you anyway, Fisher? Everything okay?
You could have just asked me what his name was, and I could have said
his name. You know his name. I didn't know his name. Oh, Alan, did you see the message as well?
I saw the message as well.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I would have responded to it, but like lightning, you'd already put a response out.
Oh, right, okay, there we go.
And at the time, I was actually playing golf, so I didn't have a chance to respond because you'd already done it for me.
So I'm doing the hard work. I'm doing the hard work while you're playing golf.
Well, I can't help the fact I was playing golf at the time.
How did you go on this week?
I tried my best. Taking part is one of the key things when it comes to sport, isn't it?
Fair enough.
I didn't do too bad. I didn't putt very well.
Ready to move on?
Yeah, let's go. Come on, let's get
So before I do move on to the show and tell item, it's my turn this week to do that. So we always bring a different show and tell item to the show, and it's a bit like Would I Lie to You? We've got to give two reasons as to what the story is behind it, and then you've got to guess which one's the right one. Before that, though, we need us drinks, don't we? So this week, it's a bit early, isn't it? I mean, it's 11:30. We can get away with it, can't we? So this week I've brought a beer from Vocation Brewery, and it's called Divide and Conquer, which I thought was quite a relevant beer at the minute for a lot of the sort of world politics. That's how politicians seem to be going with things. So Divide and Conquer's pretty much their message, isn't it? Quite unfortunately, but anyway, so that's what I've got today. What about yourself?
I've got some German beer. I've got some Holsten Pils lager. So we'll see how
creative.
That goes.
I haven't seen that for ages. Didn't even know they still made it.
Yeah. Admittedly, I've not drunk it for a while. I think last place I drunk it at probably was Steindrop Lodge in High Green.
Oh, right,
okay. I don't know
which is apparently for sale now. Apparently, it's going to be it's up for sale. So I think they'll be looking for new owners. I know that they've kind of sort of changed hands not too long ago as well. So the new owners have then decided to get rid of it too. Sadly, a lot of pubs are suffering, aren't they? Particularly independent pubs that set up are kind of deciding not to even bother opening after all this, aren't they? Which is a shame.
Possibly, yeah. Obviously, on the last episode, when I opened my lager, it went absolutely everywhere. So fingers crossed I can actually do a decent job of it. What I would say is I've not actually put it in the fridge, so it might be a bit more lively. So fingers crossed I actually get some of it in the glass this week.
Right. Well, hopefully. I'm just drinking it straight out of the can again. Anyway, it's time for show and tell.
Okay.
Are you ready for show and tell? Okay.
Yeah,
So,
I'm ready.
I've published a poll as well. A poll, whatever you call them. And that is on the bottom of our video or on our video somewhere, so you can actually, listeners will be able to, and viewers will be able to actually answer it themselves and maybe help you out, Fisher. Help give you the answer.
Do you actually know how many people are watching? Well, it says there's 4 people watching this, and I'm watching it, and you're watching it, so there's 2 others.
I don't think I'm watching it. I don't think I'm classed as a listener. Anyway, so here it is. Here's my show and tell item. You ready? Here it is.
Yep.
So this is my cuddly toy from when I was born, basically. It's everybody, or a lot of people would have had a cuddly toy from when they were born, and it kind of stuck with them and was their thing from being a baby. Maybe you've still got it now, and I've still got mine now. But what is the story behind this cuddly toy? And it's like a Scotty dog sort of thing, and you can tell how old it is if I hold it up to the camera. Very, very old, as you can see. What's the story behind it, okay? So reason number 1, I lost it for 15 years before being reunited with it. Or story number 2, it nearly delayed a flight. Those are your 2 options, Fisher. And feel free to quiz me about both of them and try and find out which one's actually the answer.
Okay, well, the major news is obviously that I've actually managed to correctly pour some beer into my glass, which is good. And so your 2 options are obviously, so there's no dispute in the fact that this is your childhood teddy bear.
Yep, it is my childhood teddy bear, my cuddly toy.
Is it actually got 2 eyes, or is one of them fallen off by the looks of it?
It's still got 2 eyes, but you can see that they call it snout is starting to look a little bit ripped, and you can tell it's not in the best shape. But I will never let go of it. My good luck thing.
Without wanting to put 2 and 2 together, obviously that teddy bear that spent a lot of time in your bedroom's got some strange white marks around its face. So
I beg your pardon. That is poor stitching or worn away material. Just make that clear.
No problem.
I mean, the hole in the bottom's not. I'm joking.
So the first question I've got is, where do you think you lost it for 15 years, and how did you find it again?
So it was I couldn't find it. So I moved house. Probably about when I was 60.
Are you ever going to do a story that doesn't involve you moving house?
No. I moved house when I was 16. Okay, so from the kind of house where I'd kind of grown up, and I couldn't find it after moving house, and it kind of panicked me a bit because I thought, I'd looked after this for a long time and I had it for a long time, and admittedly it wasn't on my bed anymore. It was kind of tucked away in a cupboard, or I thought it was. And when I moved house, I just couldn't find it anywhere, and I didn't know how long it had been. I'd not had it for or whatever. And it turned out that, and this is only a couple of years ago, so if I moved house when I was 15, 16, it was like maybe last year or the year before, would have been the 15 years, that my grandparents had it in their loft. And I think my mum had taken a box of old photographs and videos and things like that, and it just got put away in my grandparents' loft as a space thing, to just save us some space. And it was actually tucked away in there. And it was a couple of years ago, my grandparents were going through their loft and they said, we've got a box with all photos in and things like that, and they brought it down. And I thought this had completely gone and I was never going to get it back, and I found it in the box. It was an emotional moment.
Well, it sounds like it, yeah. Were you not concerned as to where it was? Did you not search for it over this 15 years?
Well,
I'd
moved house. Now, admittedly, the house was still in the family that we moved out of, because my mum moved into that particular house because my mum and dad separated and all that kind of thing. So we moved out and mum moved back in. And anyway, and I looked, but in the end, I just couldn't find it anywhere. And I had no idea that it was stuffed in this box that had gone to my grandparents' house, and no one else had either. I mean, I didn't want to make a massive fuss over it. I was 16. I didn't want to be seen to be getting worked up over a lost cuddly toy. Yeah.
So
Vanessa's been in touch, by the way, to say that's a scary, cuddly toy. It didn't used to look like this scary, Vanessa. It used to look a lot sweeter than it does now. We've also had a couple of votes on the poll as well, saying that people think I lost it for 15 years, and that's where most of the answers are going at the minute.
Okay. I can't see who's voted or what the scores are, although I do have the option to vote on it as well. So I can see it's me and 3 other people currently watching it, but there we go. So I suppose my other question is that you felt it had been... So the second option was that...
It nearly delayed a flight.
So where were you flying to or from? Or both to and from, I suppose?
So
what were the circumstances around that?
I think I was around 4 years old, and it was my first ever holiday abroad to Mallorca with my mum, dad, friend of the family, and my brother as well, John O.
Did you not take your younger brother with you?
He was
a year younger than you.
He was he was sort of like 2, 3. So, and on the way home, I believe, I think it was on the way home, because obviously I was quite young, but I've heard this story being told a couple of times. When getting on the plane, and the door shut on the plane, and we were not too far off taking off, I shouted out that I hadn't got my cuddly toy with me, which I'd been carrying around with me constantly because I was only young. And the air hostess was alerted, and the air hostess got off the plane to go and get the dog from, I think it was either the departure lounge or in one of the duty-free shops where we'd been.
Even at that age of 4 years old, you were getting into the duty-free. Well done, lad. Well done, brilliant.
Cheap fags in it now, are you joking?
Yeah. And he got loads of cigarettes stuffed inside it with all the stuff being taken out.
So it nearly delayed a plane because of that.
So that is fairly plausible. I mean, kids obviously are fairly obsessed with the cuddly. That's the thing with children, that they're really keen on their cuddly toys and possessions, but they think nothing of just leaving them on the floor and chucking them around elsewhere. And as soon as they drop it, they have to start crying, and an adult has to go and fetch it for them and pick up all the things from them.
I was only 3, 4.
Well, I'm not saying you weren't, but sort of that's the kind of thing that kids generally do, isn't it?
Mm.
I can't imagine you would have gone and got it yourself. Which I probably presume you weren't allowed to.
But it's here still.
Yeah. So how did people know where to look for it, I suppose, is my main question on this. I
mean, I've got... It's difficult for me to say because I was very young at the time, and I've heard this story a couple of times, but in very vague ways, and not full descriptions and so on. But no, it was definitely lost, and they I must have had it. I reckon I had it with it in the departure lounge, and the sort of seats outside the, where you go onto the plane. So I think it was quite clear where it was going to be, and whether but the air hostess was the one to get off the plane and go and get it. Be nice if I could bring her into the stream, wouldn't it? And here's the air hostess from. Which she won't be busy at the minute, so if she's still working.
Well, to be fair, she might not still be an air hostess anymore.
Yeah, true.
So what was the air hostess's name?
I don't know that. Sorry.
Someone went and got you your teddy bear back, your pride and joy, and you can't remember what the name was of the person who did it?
I could ask my parents for the next episode, although, to be fair, I phoned... I'll come back to it. I'll come back to that. Right. I don't want to say anything.
Okay. No problem. So I presume you phoned your parents to discuss this one of the 2 issues, as a guess?
No.
No? Okay. All right. So do you want me to try and make a decision?
Yeah,
on this?
Go on. And do you want to know? Do you want to know where the votes have gone? All 3 people who've decided to vote have all gone with that. I lost it for 15 years, and then was reunited with it.
Obviously, you're talking about your teddy bear there, aren't you? Yeah. So you lost it for 3 years.
Oh, I lost it a lot longer than that.
Yeah. Sorry, for 15 years, not 3 years. So I would go with the audience on this one, and I would say that you lost that teddy bear for 15 years. Okay.
So the correct answer, and I'm going to show the results now, so that everyone can see the thing that people are voting for. But the correct answer is actually... You got it wrong. It did actually nearly delay a plane for all those years ago. So back when I was about 2, 3, 4, and that's a true story. I left it in a departure lounge or in a duty-free shop, and one of the air hostesses had to go and get it for me. So that's the story. And I did. I nearly gave it away, but I did call my dad to ask, Dad, my black cuddly toy that I've got, which is this dog, this sort of Scotty dog thing I've got, which has actually turned blue over the years. In fact, its snout's black, but it's sort of the rest of the body is blue, a dark sort of blue colour. I phoned my dad and I said, Dad, you remember this cuddly toy that I had from growing up, didn't you? He went, no. I went, I'd remind him what it was.
He didn't say, hang on, who are you again? Your son? Yes. Oh, yeah, mate, yeah. I think I know you are. Yeah.
Well, he
had a teddy bear, right? Okay, yeah.
He had no idea. Anyway. And I had text my mum, who is a police officer, so she was probably working. So I didn't know if she was working. Or sometimes she has obviously late mornings because she'd work nights and things like that. And she messaged me right before the podcast started, because if I'd not got the message, I would have thought I might have been making it up. But no, I wasn't making it up. That's a true story. There you go.
Okay, well done. I mean, it's a shame you have to get the police involved in it, but there we go. Thank you very much for confirming, Jimbo.
Remember, you can like the Waste of Web Space podcast on Facebook. In fact, you don't even have to like us. You can hurl loads of abuse at us on there as well. And now you can do that live. Okay, so for those people that might be tuning in for the first time, me and Fisher often quiz each other on different things, don't we? We have different features, and we normally take it in turns to run a little quiz for each other. And this is something that viewers are very welcome to get involved in as well. You can send us your answers to these questions in the comments, and we can see who's going to get the right answer. Is it going to be myself, or is it going to be you? Because Fisher's going to be the one quizzing me, aren't you, to start with? What have we got?
I've got a quiz about Twitter. Obviously, Donald Trump, a couple of weeks ago, said that some of his tweets were marked as being inciting violence and hatred.
Well, they were.
Twitter marked them as such. Well, they were, yeah, but Twitter marked them to be as such, which is quite remarkable for an American president that they would actually do that. Or just the fact that America would have a president who would actually incite hatred via a social media platform. And his response seemed to be that it would possibly close Twitter down or kind of put restrictions on them. So I thought I would have a look at other people who'd been either censored on Twitter or potentially have been involved in Twitter legal actions. Some of which are amusing, some of which aren't, to be honest. Having done it, I wasn't actually that impressed with the amount of things that you could access. If you type into Google Twitter defamation, libel, you just get loads and loads of adverts for solicitors who you can contact if you feel that someone has tweeted about you in an unfair way.
I thought it'd just come up with Donald Trump's picture. To be honest with you, if you Google something like that,
that probably was on there somewhere along the lines. So I thought I would have a look at people who.
Hold on a minute.
What?
I missed the opportunity to play the Donald Trump sound effect there. We mentioned his name quite a few times.
You did.
Go.
He's going to come up in a few questions, so it might be worth kind of not doing that when I'm trying to ask a question, if that's all right, please.
I don't know. I think our rules are that we have to play it.
Well, that's a rule that you made up, yeah, but never mind. So, anyway, the Twitter CEO, Jack Dorsey, in November 2016 was involved in his account being suspended. What did he say happened? Did he say there was an internal error? Or did he say that his 4-year-old son was playing with his mobile phone and accidentally deleted his Twitter account?
So his personal Twitter account was deleted?
His personal Twitter account. I think he's called @Jack.
Right. So what was the first reason again? That
there was an internal error, which I presume means it was hacked by the Russians.
And then his Twitter account vanished at that point.
His Twitter account vanished for a short period of time and then came back. Although the second option is that his 4-year-old son was playing with his mobile phone and accidentally deactivated his Twitter account.
How do we know that his 4-year-old son hadn't been hired by the Russians?
Could have been. At the time, I think Jack was too busy trying to find his 4-year-old son's Scotty dog teddy bear in an airport lounge. He just popped out off the airplane to go and get it, and then came back and found that it's going to entertain him for a little bit.
You never know. They could have hacked into his Peppa Pig stream and, sent some messages through, delete your father's Twitter and all that. You never know. Okay, I think I'm going to go then. That I'd like it to be the second one because it's funny. So I think, and I've got a 3-year-old now. Big shout out to my daughter who has turned 3. Just here is my daughter, by the way.
Jimbo on Twitter. I do a space podcast.
Sorry.
Thank you.
the manner in which you said she's turned and then you paused and looked down, obviously to get the voice bit of her doing it, it made it look like you didn't
Forgotten
know
her
how old she was.
age.
You have to see it written down on a piece of paper that was in front of you.
No, I know her age.
She's curly 3, isn't she?
Curly number 3 is how she describes it, and she's been said in the last week or two that I asked her what she wants to do when she grows up, and she said she wants a desk and she wants to do a podcast because that's what she knows. That's what she thinks I do. But anyway, well, I do that, but you know, there is other work
stuff as well.
So yeah,
I saw her on her birthday.
You did. Thank you very much. You made some very nice cookies.
I didn't. My wife did, but I drove us there to deliver those to her.
Yeah, it wasn't great when you told us after that you and your wife would come down with a nasty cough and a fever. I'm only joking. No, thank you for them. They were really nice. But yeah, I know 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds can be, you know, they're good on. It's amazing how good they are on touchscreen devices. So you know, to delete something, accidentally it could have been done, but maybe even on purpose. So I'm going to go with that one.
That it was accidentally by his son. That is incorrect. It was blamed on error.
So computer systems error did that then?
It was alleged it was an internal error. Whether or not it was something more serious than that, I don't know. But the official line was it was an internal error. Next up, YouTuber PewDiePie. Sorry, for any audio listeners, I've just made a shrug of the shoulders, which very much suggests that I've got no idea who this famous YouTuber is. Was suspended from Twitter in 2016. What did he do? Did he claim that he had joined ISIS? Or had he tried to tweet every single American senator with a rude picture and was banned after tweeting 34 of them? I would actually say on this point that it's quite interesting that for the first time we've gone live on Facebook, I've decided to do a quiz about Twitter. So apologies to the people on Facebook.
So just remind me again then.
So PewDiePie, who is a well-known
So what's his
YouTuber,
name again?
PewDiePie.
I'm sorry, I didn't get that.
PewDiePie.
Again?
Apparently. Yeah, all right. You're just trying to get me to say the names of people who I don't know. He's probably friends with Logan Paul.
Yeah.
Or is it Paul Logan? I don't know. And KSL and, you know, all those other well-known YouTubers. Which, to be fair, I mean, I first started doing a show on YouTube in 2007.
Did you? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Predated all of those guys, most probably.
How many episodes did you get up to? Do you remember? Did you get to the 100 or you not quite get there?
I did 80.
Oh, 80.
I think.
Okay. Yeah.
I think in my initial run I did 78, and then I came back for 2 specials afterwards.
Well, they were about 10 minutes long, were
they? They were all at least 5 minutes. I think they were generally about 7 or 8 minutes.
Yeah.
And
I bet people wish that's how long our podcasts were.
Well, yeah, it's amazing that nowadays we can go for about an hour and a half.
Yeah.
This
is why we go off topic. What did PewDiePie do anyway?
Is that how his name's pronounced?
No idea.
All right, I thought it was PewDiePie as opposed to QDiePie, but I don't know. Never heard of the bloke. So did he either claim that he had joined ISIS, or did he tweet every single American senator with a rude picture and was banned after tweeting 34 of them?
Let's say, I mean, YouTube, not all YouTubers, but a lot of YouTubers, and particularly those that are popular, have got popular from doing ridiculous things, really, haven't they? And stupid things in a lot of cases. Both of them seem quite interesting. But I like, you know, maybe he tweeted the senators. Let's say that one.
Okay. And you would be wrong, unfortunately. But never mind. Yeah, it's 2 wrong out of 2. You can't have everything, can you, Jimbo?
So did he do that as a joke, claiming that he joined ISIS?
Yeah, it was a joke claiming that he joined ISIS, but I think it was sort of taken seriously. So they kicked him off the platform for a bit, and I presume he got back in touch with them and said, "No, actually, I'm only joking." What an hilarious joke! And therefore they allowed him back on. I mean, I know some of our jokes are bad, but we're not quite that bad.
No.
So, Courtney Love had her Twitter account disabled in 2011. Why was it? Was it that she was suing Twitter for allowing her music to be played without getting royalties, and Twitter took the account down during the trial? Or is it she was involved in a Twitter defamation case with a journalist, so it was taken down during the trial? She now tweets from a different account. That's an amazing Twitter suspension, isn't it? We'll get rid of your account, but it's fine. Just go and set another one up if you want.
So, but there must be a lot of people who are involved in. So is it that she was being? It was against her this sort of case that she'd said something about a journalist in that case, or
I think she'd said something about the journalist. Yeah.
right, okay, all right. And the other one was that something to do with her music and Twitter were allowing it to be played.
Yeah, so I think you can often click on videos on Twitter and sort of music will play us as background music, and obviously I think you can. A bit like sometimes with some of the stuff on YouTube are the royalties and money kind of getting forced towards the artist who made the song in the first place.
I don't know if they launched like their own music service a few years ago, but whether that took off or not, I can't remember. But let's go with the second one, and yeah, she was involved. She's involved in a case against a journalist or with a journalist.
You'll be correct. Well done. And yeah, she now tweets from a different account as a result of that. Mm-hmm. Although I believe her original account is still kind of permanently not there, not able to get on it.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to make much sense, does it? But anyway.
No. In 2012, Lord McAlpine claimed that tweets implying that he was a paedophile amounted to defamation of his character. What did he request that users who had retweeted the claim did in order to drop legal action against them? Was it donate £25 to children in need, or did he ask everyone to tweet the words, "I wholeheartedly apologise to Lord McAlpine for any distress that my Twitter use has caused," and tag him in the tweet?
So tell me a bit about Lord McAlpine
then. Well, he's a lord, and he's a Tory member, and I think there was something on Newsnight around the time of sort of the Jimmy Savile allegations coming out that had suggested that a senior member of the Tory party had been involved in sort of sex abuse and what have you, and there was a suggestion from people on Twitter that it was him, something that he kind of denied, obviously. Mm-hmm. I think the reason he denied it is because it wasn't true, I would hasten to add.
Yeah.
And he took legal action against anyone who tweeted it. I think so. Some people were slightly more well known who tweeted it, and some people less so well known. But he wanted everyone to kind of ensure that they apologised to him or kind of made good for what they'd said.
All right, I'm going to say that I would reckon he possibly would have asked for an apology off everybody and asked them to tweet the apology.
No, he asked them to donate £25 to children in need.
That's good. I kind of had him down from maybe not being nice enough to ask for that, maybe, but he was. So there we go. Fair play to him.
I believe he actually earned. I think he got. It was donated quite a large amount of money from certain media organisations that had also repeated a similar allegation against him, and I think earned around £150,000-200,000, all of which he donated to charity, which was very good of him. I suppose. I mean, to be fair,
could be a good way of like raising some money.
Good way of raising some money. I suppose it's a good way of sort of detecting.
You accuse me of something, get people retweeting it, and we can make some money out of this.
Yeah, and if what I accuse you of, you don't try and get £25 from me, then it'll mean that what I said is true, and otherwise, I've maybe spent 25 quid to try and flush certain people out of the system, haven't I? So I don't. How many MPs are there? What, 650?
Yeah.
We're not sure what that is times 25. If you accuse them all of terrible crimes, times 25 times 650 times 25, or £16,250, which is quite a lot, really.
Yeah.
That you've got to spend to try and get these people out of the system.
We'll come up with something, shall we?
Yeah.
Okay.
So maybe it's just a case of targeting the ones that you think might have done something wrong. And £25 a gamble, is it worth trying to do it? Who knows?
Let's not give anyone any ideas.
Yes, of course not. So Steve Wood, a former UKIP chairman from the Bristol branch, was ordered to pay a Labour politician around £40,000 after tweeting a derogatory remark about him. What was unusual about the offence? Is it that he didn't actually tweet the offending tweet? Someone else did, and it was concluded that the actual tweeter was just someone who was acting on behalf of Steve Wood? Or is it that he incorrectly named the person who sued him, but the picture was correct?
So he
tweeted a picture of a certain Labour politician with a derogatory remark underneath it, or kind of he was sued for that. But what actually happened Was it that he didn't actually send the tweet himself, but it was kind of concluded that the person who sent the tweet was kind of acting on his behalf? Or was it that he actually incorrectly named the person who was trying to...
so he gave the wrong name, but with,
wrong name, but the right picture.
With the correct picture.
Yeah.
A bit like what happened on Pointless a couple of weeks ago when they had Barney Owl on screen, but called him Aussie Owl. Still upset about that. Still very upset about that.
They called him Aussie the Owl.
Yeah, which is, again, wrong. Probably referred to as a Sheffield as well, rather than Sheffield Wednesday, probably. But anyway, I know that grates on people too. Let's go then. Let's go the second one. They actually got he named the pic. He put the right picture up, and the wrong name underneath it.
You'd be wrong. Oh. Someone else tweeted it.
And he claimed that he had nothing to do with it then?
He claimed it had nothing to do with it.
But it was his Twitter account?
I think it was from the local branch of
UKIP.
Okay. Who tweeted it. And they sort of said, you're chairman, ultimately you're responsible for what the content is on there, so you've probably just got someone to do your dirty work for you, and as a result... I think this is what the judge said. It may not be, and I apologise to him if it's the case that that's not exactly what was said. I happen to have, but I believe he was fined £40,000 according to the article that I read. Who did Katie Hopkins insult via Twitter, which led to a legal trial? Was it Jack? Was it Monroe?
Everybody?
Well, no. Specifically, it led to quite a notable legal trial. She has insulted a fair few people, obviously, but who did she insult that led to a fairly notable legal trial? Was it Jack Monroe or Laurie Penny? Two people which I've never heard of.
No. Do you know anything else about
them? One of them is a journalist, and I think one of them is more of a blogger as opposed to a journalist.
Is it Jack Monroe who's a blogger? Because that's the one that rings a bell.
I think they are a food blogger.
They are a food blogger, yeah. Looks very nice, actually. Latest thing is tomato bread and butter pasta for 24p.
Okay, that seems pretty cheap.
Tinned pear cake, cherry and white chocolate bake, beet Wellington.
Yeah, that's what Katie Hopkins called them, apparently.
So, which one was it? Did you say?
Yeah, which one was it that Katie Hopkins insulted that led to a notable legal trial?
Okay. And the other one, do we know much about that person?
The other one, what I would say is that the reason the issue was...
What's the name?
One was called Jack Monroe, the other was called Laurie Penny.
Laurie Penny.
Who I think...
English journalist.
I think possibly a journalist for The Independent or something like that.
The Guardian, Time, BuzzFeed, New York Times. Yeah.
Yeah. I believe what actually happened is that there was a case of... The reason I've picked these two is there was a case of mistaken identity, which Katie Hopkins wanted to tweet one of these people, but instead tagged the other person into it.
Right, okay.
But I'll go into that after I've revealed the answer.
I'm trying to think which one she might have had most clashes with based on what they do. Could she have had clashes with somebody who was sort of... Cause Jack Monroe does a blog about, putting together cheap dishes that are healthy and that are obviously really good to help people save money. So would Kate Hopkins have an issue with people trying to save money and trying to... Do you know what I mean? Probably, because she's got an issue with everything. Whereas she could have multiple issues with journalists depending on what they're writing, but obviously she writes what she wants as well. So, let's go Laurie Penny, shall we?
You will be wrong.
Okay.
It was... she wanted to tweet... about Laurie Penny, who I think had written something about graffitiing on a war memorial, but she accidentally got confused between Laurie Penny and Jack Monroe. And
how did that happen?
I don't quite know, but obviously you have the chance to apologise for this, saying it's just a case of mistaken identity. What Katie Hopkins did was she said, can someone please tell me what the difference is between Laurie Penny, who's an irritant, and Jack Monroe, who's a social anthrax? And I think she eventually actually deleted the original tweet. So the next question is, Jack Monroe said, I genuinely haven't got a clue what on earth you're talking about here. You're confusing me with someone completely differently, but you kind of tagging me into a tweet making a suggestion that I think it's acceptable to graffiti on war memorials and all this sort of stuff. My family are from, have got a large military background. She asked Katie Hopkins to publicly apologise and to donate £5,000 to a charity on behalf of, just for the distress that was caused to her. She wouldn't apologise.
Are you on about Laurie here?
No, it was Jack Monroe who was actually tagged in the tweet.
Did you say she, though?
They.
They?
Sorry, I believe Jack Monroe is a non-binary person.
Okay, yeah, sorry, thank you. Thank you for pointing that out, yeah.
Sorry, apologies if I said he or she at any point in that.
No, but I didn't know. I didn't, like, you was saying Jack, but you were saying she, so I didn't know if you was talking about Laurie, so yeah, that makes sense, thank you.
Sorry, I do apologise. Jack Monroe asked Katie Hopkins to publicly apologise. The case, she wouldn't apologise and wouldn't give the donation to charity, at which point the case went to court. There was quite a lengthy legal case. The costs hadn't been settled because Katie Hopkins had to pay Jack Monroe's court costs as well as a fine to kind of make good for the distress that was caused. After 28 days, Katie Hopkins was ordered to make an interim payment to Jack Monroe of how much? Was it £32,000 or £107,000?
So we're saying here she could have paid a lot less and made this issue go away, but she had to end up paying more.
Well, it could have been settled out of court, but instead it went to court and lawyers' fees were included and all that sort of stuff.
And hasn't she actually been involved in issues with bankruptcy and stuff like that as well afterwards, I think? I'm sure that's been... apparently, that's what I've heard, but...
Potentially, and anyone who finds the idea of Kate Hopkins being made bankrupt should be, who finds that funny, should be thoroughly ashamed of themselves, obviously. Well, no, in this day and age, we are encouraged to be kind to people, and that includes people who you do like, and also includes people who you don't like. So it's never nice to see people in distress, whether you're fans of them or not.
I want to say it was the lesser of the figures then, 32,000.
32,000. It wasn't. It was 107,000.
Oh. Yeah, she obviously hasn't learned a lesson, has she?
I suspect she may have now, after paying that out. I think she had to go into insolvency, individual voluntary arrangement, and possibly sell a house as well, and all that kind of thing.
But she still hasn't stopped spouting things, though, has she?
Well, I presume she just puts the word allegedly in front of it every time.
Like we do.
Get out of anything then, can't you? Allegedly. So, only 2 questions left, both of which are around Donald Trump. So, why was Donald Trump's Twitter account... Why did Donald Trump's Twitter account disappear for a short period?
You said it 3 times.
Well, yeah, but I'm trying to ask a question, so it's kind of... When you keep playing a trumpet, I've got to keep asking it again, haven't I?
Yeah.
So, why did the Twitter account of the American president disappear for a short period in November 2017? Was it a hacker who disliked Donald Trump went in and disabled his account, or a Twitter employee on their last day disabled his account?
Ooh. Now, would I suppose they'd have to... I'm sure that... Because so many Twitter employees could do that, I suppose, but I'm sure there must be very, very, very few people who have got permissions to disable an American president's account. This is while he was president as well, is that right?
2017, so yes, it was, yeah.
So I think it was actually a hacker. I don't think that I think that's such a... And I know that it could have been a higher level employee who obviously left and then decided to do that. But I still think... Yeah, I'm pretty sure it would have been... I think it was a hacker. I think I've heard this as well, so I'm going to go with a hacker.
Well, you must have heard it wrong, because it was a Twitter employee who disgruntled on their last day.
I mean, you'd do that, though, wouldn't you?
It depends how disgruntled you are, but yeah, I'd say it's feasible that you would do something like that.
And depends how much trouble you get into as well, but, if you're leaving, why not?
Yeah, I agree. What else would I say? The final question. So I'm on Facebook Live watching this. I'm getting calls in at the moment, so I've got loads of stuff going on in my earphones at the minute. The final question. Donald Trump's threatened to sue a Twitter user who I believe was called Feckhead in 2014
Sorry, you said it again.
I believe the Twitter user was called Feckhead. I mean, I'm not too sure whether that's actually true or not. He tried to sue them in 2014. Why was this? Is it that he tweeted a fake picture of Donald Trump holding hands with Kim Jong-un to various celebrities and business people? Trump got wind of this and threatened to sue? Or is it that...
Trump got wind.
Hey. Or is it that he got Trump to retweet a photo of what he claimed were his parents, who were fans of his?
You keep saying it.
Well, I need to ask the question, don't I? So it's going to make it very difficult for our listeners with you kind of putting this over the top every time. So, did he get this person called Donald to retweet a photo of what he claimed were his parents, who were fans of his, but it was actually a pair of serial killers?
Oh, right, okay. Definitely Donald would fall for that one, I think. So, let's go with that one, the second one.
That you think that you accidentally tweeted a picture of a couple of serial killers? You'll be correct. Well done.
There we go. I don't know. I don't think I did too well on that, to be honest, did I?
Not particularly, in all honesty. But the serial killers in question were, I think, Fred and Rosemary West.
Right.
Someone's tweeted him a picture. This was before he was president, so it was 2014. So I think he was just in general a businessman who was a bit annoying on Twitter and making some very stupid remarks. They tweeted in a picture of Fred and Rosemary West and said, "Is there any chance I can have a retweet for my parents who are massive fans of yours who have both passed away?" He retweeted it, and then someone said to him, "You do that as a pair of the well-known serial killers in Great Britain."
The fact that he believed he had some massive fans.
Well, that's the kind of thing that would appeal to him, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, he then tweeted later on to say, to be kind, he retweeted a picture of someone's parents, and it turned out they were joking him. He might now sue him, which I don't think you can actually. I'm not sure what you would sue him for.
No.
What the legal offence
so
would be.
The kind of things that he must receive and be asked to retweet, but yet that's one of them that he would choose to retweet. You know, the kind of, maybe, you know, as a president, could you retweet this for this cause or for this reason? I'm sure there's been a lot of those kind of things recently as well. Would he have chose to retweet some of those things? Probably not, but he'd choose something that shows him in a stardom kind of light, wouldn't he? That's the kind of guy he is, isn't it, I suppose? Anyway, exactly. So yeah, thank you very much for that, Fisher. Enjoyed that. We'll be back shortly after a word from our advertisers. You've heard of Snapchat and TikTok, but have you heard of Trumpy Pants? Trumpy Pants is a new platform where you can say ridiculous, non-fact-checked, outrageously offensive things and still keep your high-profile job or even your position of power as a world leader. Simply say something untrue and ridiculously offensive or dangerous in less than 10 seconds, hit send, and your video will be distributed to millions of people to argue and fight over. Some of them are idiots, and they'll still think you're great, support you, and vote for you in elections. You don't even have to be in a position of power to use our platform. Cheryl of Facebook has been using it for weeks to share her views that are definitely her own and not what she read in a tabloid newspaper. So sign up to Trumpy Pants today and start sharing, because you know your views are right without spending any time to consider other angles. You just need the rest of the world to know and to agree with you. So we've come to the part of the show then where we look at the news and what's going on in the world. And you know what, Fisher? You know, we've been struggling, haven't we, to find other things to talk about, because it's coronavirus, this, COVID-19, that, Dominic Cummings, this, all that kind of thing. Anything basically surrounding the lockdown and coronavirus and COVID-19. So, you know, finally we've got something else to talk about.
Absolutely.
Is it anything good?
Well, I suppose it depends what you mean by good.
Well, yeah.
It's probably not good what actually kickstarted it in the first place.
No.
But it's a lot of people protesting from the Black Lives Matter movement, protesting against racism that happens, unfortunately, in society.
So hopefully the longer-term outcomes are going to be good. But unfortunately, the reason we're talking about it is because of racism, isn't it, basically, which obviously is exists. We've all known it exists, and and that this is the position we find ourselves in, and it's and it's all a lot of things are coming to light over this last week or so, and it's a shame, isn't it?
It is. I think the unfortunately the issue that highlighted this maybe a bit more in the last few weeks was the death of George Floyd. I think hopefully I've got his name right there, because I keep wanting to call him Keith Floyd, the same as a celebrity chef. And he had a police officer kneel on his neck, and for I think 8 or 9 minutes he was pleading for help and saying that he can't breathe, and unfortunately he passed away later on. Now, part of the problem was that I think the crime that he actually allegedly committed was he tried to pay for something with a fake banknote, and the police were called, and sort of this happened to him. And it's as a result, I think there's been perhaps a larger, more significant movement in terms of anti-racism than there's probably been in the last, or certainly that I can remember in my lifetime. And it seems to be very polarising in terms of people's opinions on these protests. At the same time, you've got thousands and thousands of people protesting during a pandemic, which may or may not be a good thing. I think probably a lot of people will agree with what they're actually protesting for. Whether or not it's an appropriate time to protest is a slightly different different kettle of fish.
Or maybe in the way it's being done, I suppose. But there are obviously lots of protest, and to be fair, even those that are sort of gathering in large numbers are trying where they can. And again, it's something you don't always see on the news and the media, is it? That there are lots of people trying to do this by social distancing at the same time, aren't they? Which is obviously the correct way to do it at the minute. But yeah, obviously a lot of the time you only get to see the images that are of those that aren't doing it that way.
Yeah.
And again, that's down to a lot of the media, isn't it? And what they choose to show you.
Well, it's down to a very polarising effect that we have of people nowadays. I'd suspect the people who complained about people gathering on the beach recently were possibly the same people who are protesting, and the same people who are complaining about people who are protesting were possibly people who were celebrating VE Day, for example, and sort of saying that that's fine. I don't know whether it's maybe appropriate to try and combine the two, and for the Black Lives Matter to maybe have a massive conga going through like they did on VE Day. That might be appropriate. Who knows whether that would be a good thing to do. One thing that has caught my eye a little bit is the attitude of the NFL, National Football League. So I think it was San Francisco 49ers quarterback Colin Kaepernick in 2016. I think he protested. He took the knee, knelt down on one knee to protest during the American national anthem, which was kind of a controversial move to some degree, because President Trump, being President Trump, obviously came out and said that if you're protesting, then what you can do is go and find another country to protest in, or words to that effect. Said it was a disgrace that didn't stand for the national anthem. The NFL also said that anyone, after a short period of time, then came out and said anyone who wants to not stand for our national anthem can stay in the locker room and come out after the national anthem, then play their game of American football. Yesterday they came round and said they apologised for that, and they were wrong to take that view. And specifically, I think Colin Kaepernick was protesting against police brutality towards black people in America, and also, I suppose, just the almost inherent underlying racism that sort of just exists in society anyway. I think, to be fair, American policemen would possibly counter that by saying they're not necessarily racist and are more than happy to beat white people up as well. But I think that is, again, a slightly different take on things. But yeah, they turned around and said that, having said one thing, they now actually completely disagree with that. You might maybe want to speak to Colin Kaepernick and understand why he's not had an NFL contract for the last 3 years and had to settle with an out-of-court settlement for sort of loss of earnings and all that sort of stuff, which probably doesn't seem very fair, particularly now they've gone and backtracked on it. But it's kind of led to a lot of protest and almost a bit of a revolution that hopefully will try and do its bit to improve the lives of numerous black people and kind of bring more equality to society.
There's a lot of people completely missing the point with it, isn't there? And who a lot of people, it's obviously particularly white people, who are feeling like they are being told that they are racist, and it's not quite like that, is it? It's more about the fact that we're all very, very ignorant, I suppose, aren't we? A lot of people are very ignorant to actually their biases and what they can't see. They are the mistakes they're making, and that's what it's all about, really. It's not necessarily all, of course there is, vulgar racism that takes place, and we only have to, being football fans, it's something that you see, particularly when, in a lot of other countries, and sadly this one as well, which has been highlighted over the past year as well. But it's all about this sort of unconscious stuff that goes on, isn't it, as well, that people aren't aware of, that they need to think about. And it's, I think, Keith Lemon, Lee Francis, who plays Keith Lemon, he mentioned it, didn't he? He kind of made an apology for the characters that he used to play in Bo Selector, and used to play some black characters as well as characters from other sort of backgrounds and ethnicities as well. But his message really was just about the fact that everybody's learning, and that everybody should learn, should think more about what they're doing and how they're acting or how they're perceiving things, which I think was right itself. Whether or not Lee Francis was actually, I think he was probably more sort of acting about he was sort of impersonating a character, wasn't he, and a personality in those sketches, really, rather than somebody making fun of somebody's race or anything like that. But it was good that he kind of mentioned that it's things he's thinking about, I suppose.
Absolutely.
But on Keith, on Lee Francis though, making you thought at first he was apologising for something else, didn't you?
Well, I think you should treat everyone equally, and I think Lee Francis should probably apologise for all the characters that he played on Bo Selector, the majority of which weren't very funny at all. So he should have. But I wasn't a massive Bo Selector fan, but I certainly
welcome to Lorraine Kelly live. Can you see my growler? She used to say that. I quite liked it, to be fair.
Yeah, as I say, everyone's got their own taste on things, but certainly I don't feel that he ever sort of made any issues around the actual race of people, or kind of made fun from that point of view at all. And I think John Barnes echoed that as well, actually. He sort of said, I think he said in a sort of response to his message, Instagram post or whatever, that he didn't really think he was, he had anything to apologise for on that front. But I think the very point that Lee Francis has pointed this out about people needing to learn is a good thing anyway. Yeah, absolutely. As I say, and I would probably think that the way we've kind of explained this and talked through it is probably pretty bad, in all honesty. We've probably not kind of highlighted issues that we would have liked and sort of done it as effectively as we could have done, should have done. But then that's the way it is. We don't sort of know a huge amount around this topic, but we have sort of spoken about it and given our opinions and helped to highlight the issue. And obviously we've got 4 people watching this live, one of which is me. So those 3 people, hopefully, we've done our bit. And that's all. That's what you can do. You can do your bit. You can kind of highlight the issues where you see them.
So shall we move on to talk about some other things that have been in the news then? And
go on then.
So let's start first of all with zoos are struggling in the pandemic. Have you seen this?
Zooms are struggling. Zoom is more popular than ever during the pandemic.
They are flying. But we're talking about zoos, and particularly Chester Zoo. They have tweeted saying, they've put messages out on their social media and their website saying that they are really, really struggling because, and if you think about it, you can see why, because there's animals there that are being housed and that have got obviously electric to run, and you've got got to feed them still. They're having no visitors. Obviously a zoo's income is very, very important because they've got a lot of things to pay for. How expensive animals can be. If you've got a dog or a cat, you know how much they cost. Imagine that on a grander scale. I mean, how many tins of cat food do you have to give to a tiger?
That's probably just easy to give them a cat, I would have thought. But at the same time, surely the upkeep of animals isn't that expensive. I mean, they do actually live outside, don't they?
Well, more people.
When you say they've got electric to run.
Yeah, sorry. Carry on.
No, when you say they've got electric to run, it's not as though a gorilla goes and puts its tea in the oven every night and sort of has to do anything like that, is it? I mean, you just chuck them some food out and eat it.
I'm talking about the incubators and things like that they have, and the aquarium fish tanks and stuff like that.
Yeah. But are you talking about the fish tank again? I'm obsessed.
But it's like a lot of people have got dogs during the lockdown, and a lot of people are saying that all these people who've decide to get themselves a dog to walk because they've got nothing else to do. When the lockdown ends, and zoos are struggling, and there's lots of spare dogs, like you said, lions, tigers need something to. I'm only joking, of course. Never do that. Dogs are not just for lockdown or Christmas; they are for ever.
And I suppose the same as any other place, a lot of local businesses will struggle after this. So if you can do your things to support them, then it would be much appreciated.
Yeah.
But that said, Chester Zoo isn't particularly local to us, so yeah. Do we care? Of course we care.
We do care. I care particularly because the snakes have been really, really struggling. So from some other local places where they've kind of not been able to house and look after the snakes properly, they've had to take on even more snakes at Chester Zoo, and the snakes have been really upset about that, haven't they, Fisher?
Yeah, it's been very difficult for the snakes. They're struggling a bit in terms of finances, and the snakes have complained that they don't really have a pit to hiss in.
Hey, well done. We worked on that one, didn't we?
Yeah, I think we first used that on episode of the Fish Tank about 11 years ago. Never mind.
Yeah, so anyway, something I want to show you, by the way, so just sticking with the COVID-19 stuff. There was somebody in America, and I think it was an American government official who turned up to a sort of like community event thing where they were reopening a tennis court or like allowing people to play tennis and things like that again. And she had to do a bit of a speech about how to, continue to play tennis and the sport of tennis during these particular times and sort of measures and things you should be taking. So she got into a bit of a tangle with her words. And do you want to listen to it?
Go on then. Let's hear what she said.
Every player, unless they're from the same household, has to bring their own tennis balls so that you don't touch other people's tennis balls with your hands. You can kick their balls, but you can't touch them.
So, I thought that was worth mentioning. I really wanted to play that as well because I found that particularly funny. But yeah, I mean that's the true point though. You can't be, when you start playing sport again, how is that going to work? I mean, no, football is starting again, isn't it? You got the Premiership. Is it next week or the week after, and then following week the Championship?
I think it's next week. I mean, you can't take your own football. I mean, you can't have two footballs per game, can you? Sort of one team will play one, the other team plays with the other.
Are they going to be playing with gloves on? Do you reckon, like rubber gloves on or something
like that? Will. Well, the thing is, if you've got rubber gloves on, it's only the same as if you're wearing you got your hand there. So I'm assuming perhaps the ball boys will be given some disinfectant hand spray to spray on the hands of the person taking the throw-in, or maybe not. I don't know. It is quite amusing that the Premier League keeps coming out and saying that the safety of our players is paramount. Of course, it isn't. What's paramount is that you carry on playing your games of football to make sure you get paid a load of money by Sky.
Exactly.
And don't get me wrong, obviously, if someone tests positive, then they have to self-isolate. And I think in general, it's only been a few people testing positive out of the thousands of people that have been tested every week in connection to football. But yeah, again, just the fact.
Well, obviously, they've only just started going back to training within the last week or two, haven't they? So I suppose we'll find out as time goes by, and by the time they actually start playing the matches, it could be a lot of different story, couldn't it? Really. Obviously, I see how that goes. So anyway, other sort of sports, maybe.
I did see that Arsenal played a warm-up game against Charlton yesterday.
Yeah.
And they were encouraged to turn up in their kits. Because obviously using changing rooms is a really, really big problem in terms of playing a game of football.
Mm-hmm.
So I've just seen your mum's commented, by the way, there, I think.
Yeah, we'll ignore it.
Is that your mum? Okay.
Oh, there you go. Actually left it in the duty-free first. So I attempted to lose this black dog a couple of times during that holiday, and it's still with me. There we go. My mum actually got my daughter Ada a newer version of this dog. Not long after Ada was born. So yeah, so Ada's got a version of it as well, but a newer version, one that doesn't look like it's been battered.
Yeah. Give it 30 years' time, I'm sure it will do.
Yeah.
So the players have to turn up in their football kits because obviously sharing change rooms is a major problem. But I was wondering whether they have to drive there in the football boots and wear the shin pads and all that sort of stuff. Or
possibly.
It reminds me a bit of when you're playing as a junior player and you have to turn up wearing your kit and you're not trusted to get changed because it'll take you too long and you'll forget part of your kit, so you have to wear it just to make sure you've got all your stuff. Well,
it's interesting, isn't it? Like if a team is struggling with results and they are lurking near the bottom of the table and relegation and so on still going to occur. So we're talking Barnsley Football Club hovering near the bottom of the Championship at the minute.
I believe so.
Could they just go, you know what, we've got a bad case of the old COVID-19. We're in a bit of trouble here. I wonder what's going to happen if things like that happen. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I think if one of your players tests positive, then potentially your entire team might have to self-isolate and all that sort of stuff. So that will cause problems. I know with the recreational cricket I play that at the moment we're not going to be able to play anytime soon. If someone does test positive and you've been in a changing rooms with them, then that means you might have to self-isolate for 14 days as well, which would potentially make it a bit difficult.
I wonder if anywhere in the world there is a football, because obviously there's a lot of football players, a lot of football teams. If there is actually a football player called something COVID and they do wear the number 19, that must be frightening as a football player. You know what I mean? Running past that player, I'm not going near him. He's not getting tackled today. Anyway, so on from one sport to another, porn.
Well-known sport.
Porn star, and I just had to go. While I was talking to you, then I was trying to get the story so I could refresh it in my head, and I tried to Google porn star frog or toad, and I actually just ended up googling porn star, and that brought up lots of different results. But anyway, so Spanish porn actor Nacho Vidal. Isn't there a sort of clothes designer called something Vidal as well, or perfume?
I think there's a hairdresser called Vidal Sassoon, wasn't there?
That's it. That's what I'm thinking of. Anyway,
passed away recently. It was sad to hear that he died so soon. Really.
Hold on a minute. You deserve it. There you go. I mean, it is about death, but anyway. So a Spanish porn actor is being investigated on suspicion of manslaughter after a photographer died during a toad venom ritual.
It seems to go back to the Peter Mandelson thing we had last week with the witch doctor doing the voodoo spell on his arch nemesis, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So what happened in the toad ritual then?
So I don't exactly know what happens. I don't know if it's gone into lots of detail because obviously it's something that's being investigated, but I don't know why they would have had a toad involved in stuff like that, but obviously toad, and whether it was involved in his actual work or not. But if there was a photographer there, then I'm not really sure how that would work and what you'd need to do that for.
I don't know. Is it just the case that pornography is getting a lot stranger now than it used to?
Possibly. They're running out of ideas, aren't they?
Has lockdown got that bad for people?
Yeah.
But that's what they now need to do. Watch things with strange toads in it and witch doctors.
Yeah. I mean, they've got long tongues, haven't they, toads?
I suppose so, which make them good as a porn star, I suspect. Yeah.
They're slippery. They can be slippery.
Fair enough. Should we move on to something else? Should we talk about Lord Sugar? We mentioned Twitter earlier on, and stupid people on Twitter who present The Apprentice, and Lord Sugar also probably applies in that category. The British version of Donald. Not going to say his surname, so you don't have to play the noise. Or you can play half the noise. And he fell for a bit of an old trick, really. It was someone sent him a message round saying, if you add your age to the year that you were born, then you would end up with the number 2020. And he sort of seemed to comment saying it's amazing. It seems quite true. But I'm not really sure he quite understands the concept of how your age actually works and as time progresses.
Yeah. So it was one of those tricks, weren't it, that could work in any case for anybody, but he actually fell for it thinking it was real.
Pretty much. Yeah. Yeah. I think the best time to try it really is I think on sort of January the 1st, because then very few people will have been born so far in that year.
Yeah, true.
And they will all be the same age and all that sort of stuff. When you do it halfway through the year, you're kind of going to capture only about half the people because they might have had the birthday already. It's a bit like saying, right, Jimbo, I'm going to do a test on you. Think of a number. Think of any number between 1 and 1,000. Have you got a number?
You really want me to have one?
I want you to think of a number.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, now I want you to add...
Oh, do I need my calculator?
...to that number.
Okay.
You might want to... It doesn't really matter what the number is because it's all going to work. It's all going to work. We're going to work. I want you to add 1 to that number.
Yeah.
Now I want you to take away the number you had originally.
Yeah.
You're now thinking of the number 1.
Incredible.
How did I do it? How did I do it?
There you
go.
No
one knows.
I could have done a drum roll and you could have revealed the answer and everything, but never mind. So anyway,
well, should we try tweeting that to Lord Sugar later and see
we shall do.
what he says?
I tell you what, though, you described him as our version of Donald Trump. Would you swap?
No, we can keep Lord Sugar. Actually, we'll keep holding him.
Don't
I'll tell you who is in America from around here, from reality TV.
Yeah.
Who've been protesting in the Black Lives Matter protest. Jedward.
Are they there?
Yeah, there's been video footage of them sat on a car, or sort of stood on a car and protesting in San Francisco, San Diego.
Are you sure it was them and it wasn't just a picture of a big crowd and then their sort of like hair, like there was two spikes just sort of...
just at the top.
Is that Jedward?
They were very much the centre of attention.
And do they even still have that hair?
Yeah, still got it, yeah.
Trademark, innit, really?
Yeah.
Anyway,
well, there we go.
With this
Should we move on to your quiz?
You know, like I said that, this is live, and hopefully nothing's going to go wrong. Now we've done this. We always do this live, and we never stop, do we, for a break or anything like that. But today is one occasion when we are actually live on Facebook that I need to go to the toilet and I cannot hold it in. So you're going to just don't worry. I'll play some music. I'll be back in just in a minute. So that was completely not staged because I really needed to go to the toilet then. But
Did we seriously just do that? Did we just pause the podcast just so you could go to the toilet?
We didn't pause it. We carried on going.
You didn't just play some music in the middle of it.
So?
You could at least just left me on my own, so I could at least actually try to entertain people as a one-man show for a few minutes.
Look, it nicely leads into my next quiz, which is all about live TV, and it might link to one of our questions quite nicely, but that, I promise you, wasn't staged.
Did you wash your hands for 20 seconds afterwards?
Yeah, I did, yeah. I was going to say that, actually. I followed all the correct measures. I used soap and water and things like that. A big shout-out to Leanne, by the way, who's listening in as well. So we've had Leanne, Dawn, my mum. Hi, Mum. Victoria, your missus, your wife, Victoria, Vicky.
Hi, Vicky.
She goes by a Sunday name, does she, on Twitter? And Vanessa, we've had got in touch earlier on. So let's continue. Are you ready? This is all about live TV. Okay, and things that have gone wrong in live TV. So it's our first live episode today, so we thought we'd do that, okay? So, in 2015, TV presenter, comedian and entertainer Steve Harley was presenting the final of Miss Universe competition. What mistake did he make live on TV? Okay, now this might be something you've heard before.
In what year was it? 2015?
Yeah? Do you want the possible answers first?
No, I know what the answer is. If he got it was 2015 and still thought it was like 1973 and therefore thought that the Miss Universe competition was an acceptable thing to do on television. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct as well. But anyway,
Did Donald Trump used to run Miss Universe or kind of be involved in the judging panel?
Would that surprise anybody? Probably not.
No, probably not, no.
So, yeah, he announced... he announced that the winner of Miss Universe was Colombia. This was followed by a minute or so of confetti, celebrations, and the actual crown being given to Miss Colombia. However, he then announced he'd actually announced the wrong winner, and that the winner was actually the Philippines, and he had to decrown Colombia, which to the embarrassment of upset to all the contestants involved. Okay, so that was one thing that could have happened. B, he went to the toilet during the ad break and took longer than he thought he would. This is why it links back nicely to what I've just done. Meaning that he didn't get back in time, and a young TV runner had to stand and fill in. Steve Harley later explained he was struggling with an upset stomach, and that's why he was so long.
Fair enough.
Steve Harvey, not Steve Harley. Steve Harley is someone completely different.
I was going to say, wasn't he with the Cockney Rebels?
Yeah, not the same one. Steve Harvey.
Yeah. Come up and see me, make me smile, do what you want.
It would be smiling if he was
Running
presenting
wild.
It would be smiling if he was presenting Miss Universe.
Well, I suspect so, yeah. So obviously he had to nip to the toilet during the Miss Universe competition, which is perfectly understandable, but he obviously claimed he got an upset stomach, which I'm not sure we completely believe that. I think that, I seem to recall it being on TV, then that I think the way it was written on the card was a bit confusing, and he announced the wrong winner. So I think it kind of like went down in order, but then the winner was on the other side of the card, sort of in a different place. He was just reading down, got to the bottom, thought they must have won. Then noticed on the other side was who'd actually won, so I think he announced the wrong winner for it.
Correct, he did. If you watch it on YouTube, it's really awkward because once the actual winner gets crowned, she just doesn't want to have won it, and Miss Columbia stood there like, I'm not sure what to do.
Thank God he did it to an audience of people who are fairly low maintenance. Yeah.
Next, then, the MTV Music Video Awards in 2002 happened to fall on Michael Jackson's birthday, so they arranged for a cake to be presented to him on stage during the award ceremony. But what happened? Did Lee Francis turn up dressed? I'm only joking. No. A. Britney Spears was chosen to present the birthday cake to him, and in her speech referred to Jackson as the artist of the millennium. When Michael Jackson arrived on stage, he thought he was being presented with the Artist of the Millennium Award and proceeded to do an acceptance speech for an imaginary award. Or B, just after Jimmy Fallon invited Britney Spears to the stage to present the award, he walked off to the side of the stage and unknowingly leaned on the trolley, which had Michael Jackson's covered-up birthday cake on it. The trolley wheels hadn't been locked, and it rolled off the side of the stage, causing a loud crashing noise, and the presentation had to take place without a cake, leaving it look a little bit odd because there was nothing to give Michael Jackson.
It's his birthday. Can we just get him on stage and walk off? Didn't you present an award ceremony once that involved accidentally sitting on a cake beforehand?
I did. I was hosting. I think it was the Excellence Awards for Barnsley College one year. And I was all suited up, I'm not the kind of... I don't wear suits very often, I just don't. So I was wearing my suit, and I went and sat in a cake. So I don't know how I did it. I think someone had knocked a cake onto my chair, so I went to sit... It was like a bun, I suppose, and I went and sat, and it was iced, and it was all over the place. So I had to sit on a cake and then present the rest of the awards with a cake stuck to me.
Was Dickie Bird there?
Dickie Bird may have been there, yeah. He normally goes to those kind of events. Anything for free, basically. Dickie Bird is what people say.
I think so, yeah. And if it involves Yorkshire. I remember that. It was tremendous. But, it's great, isn't it?
It's surprisingly very kind of like, although he's very popular, obviously, around the country, around the world and everything. In Barnsley, he's got very much of a split kind of opinion of him. A lot of, people have certain opinions of how he sort of carries himself and so on. But anyway.
Perhaps some of the people in Barnsley has given them out in the past when they've been playing cricket in a controversial decision, so they don't forget it. But on Michael, I think I recall this, that Michael Jackson thought he was getting the award for Artist of the Millennium or something like that, and went up to give an acceptance speech. I presume it not cottoned on to him that the award for this was just a birthday cake. Which, for your work over the last 1,000 years, we'll give you something that'll go off in 2 weeks' time. So I think he thought he'd won the Artist of the Millennium when he hadn't.
You are correct. Well done. I mean, it's almost like he'd forgot it was his birthday and actually thought he was going for an award. But I suppose he's won a lot of awards, so maybe that's why. But anyway, number 3. Christina Aguilera sang the national anthem at the Super Bowl in 2011, but what went wrong? A, her mic didn't work, so she sang the full national anthem and nobody heard it. Or B, she got the lyrics wrong.
Oh, I'm not too sure on this one. Because I think singing the national anthem at the start is different to doing the halftime show, isn't it? So I think I seem to remember a few years ago, Lady Gaga sang the national anthem at the start of the game, which again is a bit of an unusual choice. That said, so is Christina Aguilera. Could she have forgot the words? Is it drilled into people that much that you would just remember what the words are? Or is it the case that the microphone not working could easily happen because all you have to do and then it starts working again? So obviously that's Yeah, did that work? I don't know if that came through on your ears.
Yeah,
okay,
it worked pretty well.
I should have cut out then. Yeah, it's like having Norman Collier in the room. I think a microphone probably stopped working.
No, she actually got the words wrong to the national anthem at the Super Bowl, so that was obviously tad unfortunate there. Next, then, number 4, TV presenter Kathie Lee Gifford on the Today Show in America did what in 2012? A. She asked actor Martin Short how his wife was doing, forgetting that his wife had died. B. While doing an interview with an actor from Grey's Anatomy, felt suddenly sick and turned round to vomit over the back of the sofa.
Well, I think both show the dangers of live television. Vomiting over the sofa, I think she'll be able to get off stage.
I don't know. Sometimes you're very quick to vomit, aren't you? And you might have to just vomit over whatever you can, whether that's a bin or.
Yeah. It wasn't over a bin; it was into a bin. But to be fair, I managed to get off the train.
Right. Okay.
And get myself to the bin at Chapeltown train station. What a tragic sight.
You know what's happened actually? Can I just butt in there a second? I was having a lovely sleep. It was I was having a lie-in. It was my turn to have a lie-in because I didn't have Ada that night, so I was having a chance to have a lay-in, and I didn't have to get up for work or anything Saturday morning. And I heard some loud noises at about, it must have been 6:30, 7 o'clock, and I was really enjoying my sleep, and when you're asleep, you're kind of, what is going on? And it was really loud, and I didn't remember that this had happened because I must have been able to get back to sleep eventually, but I didn't remember this had happened until I came out of my house hours and hours later and realised that somebody, it would be the council obviously, have put a bin right outside my house. I've got a new bin, which is great because when my wheelie bin gets full. Sorted. Yeah. There's a bin right outside my house, and that's what they were doing. But why at 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning? I can only imagine it's because it's a busy road, and obviously it was quieter at that time. So
yeah. Best time to put bins out, clearly.
Yeah.
So
what did Kathie Lee Gifford do on the Today Show? Did she ask actor Martin Short how his wife was doing, forgetting that she'd already died, or that she'd died a few years before, or whatever? B, while doing an interview with an actor from Grey's Anatomy, she felt suddenly sick and turned round to vomit over the back of the sofa.
I think she might have accidentally asked the actor, or on purpose asked the actor, Martin Short, how his wife was doing, forgetting that she had passed away.
Yeah, it was a bit of an embarrassing incident, and again, that's on YouTube if you wanted to watch. But I think he handled it, fairly well. Next, then, number 5. BBC weatherman Thomas Schaffenegger did what live on TV? A, he was caught flipping the bird. I don't know if that's the way to describe it, but flipping the bird to fellow presenters or the production team when newsreaders cut to him. Or B, he knocked over the green screen as he was using while presenting the weather. So the map just sort of dropped backwards and vanished.
Yeah, I can remember this going viral, and I think the person introducing the weather to him made some kind of joke which basically said that he's going to do the weather forecast and I can guarantee it's definitely going to be 100% accurate and correct. Over to you, Thomas. And as it went to him, it was giving it the old, giving it the middle finger. And the camera cut to him live and he got his middle finger up, at which point he went, ugh, and scratched his face.
that was the best bit of it, wasn't it? Yeah. Absolutely spot on. Well done. So, yeah, that's exactly what happened. And it was mainly the face he pulled afterwards that was probably the funniest thing. I don't know if he got into any trouble over that or whether it was kind of just, one of those things. But anyway.
Well, surely when you have a camera pointing at you.
Yeah, you just don't take the risk, do you?
Yeah, you may be trained to be professionally. It's like when, for example, we used to do programs on. I can see what you're doing, by the way, Jimbo. For any audio listeners, you might want to notice that Jimbo's currently sticking his middle finger up at me and resting it on his face. But when we used to talk, I used to appear on your radio show on Penistone FM, which was available, and you're still back doing your radio show at the moment during lockdown, aren't you? Which is on
Fridays and Sundays. Yep.
Are you on at the moment?
Right now?
Yeah.
Right this second. Oh, yes, I will be. Oh no, I've finished.
Yeah.
I've finished now.
Okay.
Finished at 12.
There probably was actually an overlap between this live podcast and the pre-recorded radio show.
Yeah.
So almost impossible to imagine. I don't want to watch this podcast. I want to stick the radio on for a bit, and you're on there instead. But when we used to talk in the studio, between when songs are played and between that sort of stuff, you're actually a bit cautious that if the microphone's still on and you've been picked up, you don't want to sort of say anything too controversial, so you just plan and you talk normally.
You'd imagine anyone who works in broadcasting, you think it'd be the same, wouldn't you? But obviously, so many times that's happened where. I think even Ant and Dec nearly made that slip a few years ago on I'm a Celebrity as well, but I've not included that one in here because just haven't. But anyway, next then. During a rare live episode of EastEnders, what did Joe Joyner, who played Tanya, do? Okay, and this is a few years ago now, maybe 6, 7 years ago, maybe. She forgot her lines, panicked, and said, "I'm going to the laundrette," even though in the scene it was nearly midnight. So she just wanted to get off the scene, basically, because she didn't know what she was doing. Or B, when referring to the character Ian Beale, she accidentally called him by his real name, Adam.
Oh, yeah, because it's
Adam
Woodyat, who plays Ian Beale, and has played Ian Beale for a long time. I think it must be difficult, surely, knowing someone by two different names.
Yeah.
When you're kind of acting and if you actually know that person.
But then again, I mean, compared to how long Ian Beale, and I've just made the mistake there, Adam Woodyat has been in EastEnders. Joe Joyner, who played Tanya, wasn't in EastEnders for that long. Now, if I joined EastEnders now, I would never be able to call Adam Woodyat by his real name. I'd constantly call him Ian Beale. He's just been around so long.
You say that, but what I would say is that Ian Beale has been in EastEnders pretty much the same amount of time that Adam Woodyat has been playing him, I think, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Pretty much. So it's a legitimate mistake to make.
But is it? But you think it'd be harder to call him Adam? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because to everybody, he's Ian Beale.
I think. Well, yes, I suppose you wouldn't quite say it like Ian Beale. Ian Beale. I think that's how his name used to be pronounced on the on EastEnders. I think the idea of going to the laundrette is probably doesn't make much sense to me. Even if they might have been desperate to see Dot Cotton. Is that where she worked?
She did work. I don't know if she still does. She's not on it anymore, is she?
No, I mentioned a couple of weeks ago. If the laundrette was called, did the laundrette actually have a name in EastEnders?
I think it just
could it not have been called Cotton Washers or something like that? If it was Dot Cotton who worked there and she owned it, would make a lot more sense than just the laundrette. So I think she accidentally called Ian Beale, the character Ian Beale, and made reference to his real name, which is Adam Woodyat.
Well done. I think you're doing really well on this. The next one then. So, Sir Elton John, while attending a posh indoor tennis competition at the Royal Albert Hall, did what live on TV? And again, maybe this is something you're already aware of. But A, he fell off his chair. Or B, he had an argument with someone in the audience, which was caught on camera.
I don't recall, in all honesty. So it could feasibly have been either of those. Not quite sure whether Elton John would particularly be that keen on tennis in general. I don't know what he likes doing other than
posh
singing
sport,
and playing his piano.
Isn't it?
Yeah, I'm assuming it's probably there for a charity appearance or something like that. Was it a charity game or was it a actual serious competitive match?
It was like a sort of like a special masters thing where they were obviously playing indoor, and it was like a posh sort of competition. But not obviously. I don't think it was proper. I don't really know, to be honest. But yeah.
So what you're saying is you don't know and you know absolutely nothing about tennis.
No.
Yeah. So could have been an exhibition match. It could have been a challenge series. Could have been whatever.
But he was very involved in it, so he wasn't just a spectator. He was kind of in some way involved in like a celebrity coach or something like that.
I think Elton John does like arguments with people, doesn't he? Because he did have that spat with some photographers once, didn't he? Mm-hmm. At an airport, which I think you asked a question about, where he called them rude, vile pigs or something like that. And just kept shouting the words, "You're rude, vile pigs, rude, vile pigs." Getting that aggressive that his wig nearly fall off, probably. I think he might have fallen off his chair. I think Elton John's quite short as well, so I think it might have been quite funny when he did do it.
So you don't think he's still standing? Well done, though. Actually, he did make that joke himself, which was pretty good of him. But then, if you watch the video, he falls off his chair, and then you can hear him sort of shout, "I'm not standing, And then he gets up, and then the journalist comes over to him, and he goes, "Are you okay, Elton? You had the top presenter." And he went, "Yeah, I'm still standing." He said, "I'm not standing." He said it again, and then they continued to speak to him, and he went, "I'm not standing." Yeah. He carried on making the same joke over and over again. But anyway, there you go. So that was that one with Elton John. Next, then in 2006, only three left. 2006, Guy Gomer became famous when he was walking across London Bridge as weather presenter Carol Kirkwood was presenting a feature. It was raining and windy, and while live on TV, her umbrella blew out of her hand down the bridge, only to be caught by construction worker Guy Gomer before it went over the Thames. So he managed to catch it before it flew over. This action was all caught on camera, live, obviously. B, recently graduated from business school. As a business school graduate, is invited into a job interview at the BBC for an interview in the IT department. So he was waiting in the reception area. A showrunner came to the reception and said they were ready for Guy for his interview. It turned out that the showrunner was actually supposed to be collecting Guy Cuney, a technology journalist, and ended up putting Guy Gomer on live BBC News, where they proceeded to interview him about an issue surrounding Apple naming rights. He visibly noticed the mistake, but continued to answer questions he obviously had no clue about. And I think, looking at your face, you know this one, don't you?
I think now you've explained the examples. The name did ring a bell from somewhere, and now you've mentioned what the examples are. I specifically remember this, and there is a fantastic moment on the interview where it dawns on him that is on live television, and he kind of went,
he kind of goes, doesn't he, like that? Yeah.
A real look of horror on his face as he was asked to explain the situation, and it was quite blatant. He got no idea what he was talking about. But I think saying that he got no idea what he was talking about, I think actually on the news report they'd got the winners of the court case completely wrong anyway.
Oh right,
and
okay.
He just kind of he sort of bumbled his way through and said, "Yeah, I think that's, depending on what your views are, that's something that could quite easily be confusing, and you need to be careful about the implications of this as well." So
he didn't say much, but he did well, didn't he? To kind of go,
one of those things where he said 30 seconds of absolutely nothing, but managed to cover it reasonably well.
If I'd have left him here while I went to the toilet to go and do my business and so on, I bet he'd have managed to keep up a good show.
I would have managed to keep up a good show. He didn't give me the chance. He just put some music on instead of me.
So you're going to go for that answer?
Yes, it was definitely that. I remember it well.
I had to put that in because it's just an iconic moment, isn't it, I think. Next then, I don't know if you'll know this one though. In 2017, Amanda Holden did what while presenting This Morning? A, she constantly referred to a transgender guest using their former name despite being corrected 4 times. Or B, asked astronaut Tim Peake if it was true that he'd really brought a piece of the moon back home with him. Bearing in mind, Tim Peake never been to the moon.
Yes, obviously that is a good point. Is it that I thought it was going to be C, that she read out a question that you'd asked live on This Morning, like Philip Schofield did all those years ago? Would she have asked a transgender person, or would she, I suppose the thing I can't quite get my head around in terms of the transgender issue is how would she know the person's original name and not the one that they're going by now?
Well, because they would have been, as part of the person telling the story, it might have been a story about their journey.
It could have been, yeah.
Yeah.
And to be fair, I would have thought she would have someone in her ear continually saying, actually, you got a person's name wrong. Can you please call them?
Do you think Donald Trump constantly has somebody in his ear, though, trying to tell him, not we're comparing Amanda Holden to Donald Trump here, but...
Well, obviously, one of them has got a face that has been completely covered by cosmetic surgery over the years and all that sort of stuff. And the other one, yes, obviously, we're not comparing the two, clearly. I think if Donald Trump does have someone in his ear, then he doesn't really listen to them.
Oh, he probably just takes it out before he goes on and say, you know what, I'm not going to bother with that.
I don't know if you've watched the videos by Michael Spicer on Twitter called the man in the room next door.
Oh, yeah, I have, and he's pretending to advise the... Yeah. Like, he's done it with Matt Hancock a couple of times, hasn't he? Yeah.
Which, to be fair, he sometimes, getting back to the Guy Gomer question, he does sometimes say to them, just say anything, just say, yeah, we're putting out new procedures, new policies, something like that. They'll like that. And he just sometimes say, just say something that means nothing, but people like it. So I think she asked him, did he bring back a piece of the moon, even though he hadn't been to the moon? think that's the kind of thing she would do.
Correct, she did. So where she'd heard that from anyway, I'm not sure. Obviously, didn't do her research, but yeah, there you go. And then you final.
I think she had done her research because originally she was actually started speaking about. She got confused between Tim Peake and the TV program Twin Peaks, and she started asking about that. I think to start with, so she quickly realised her error and found out it was an astronaut.
Last one then, Randy Johnson, one of the most famous baseball players of all time. And also one of the tallest at 6'10", as a bit of a fact for you there. One of the fastest throwing pitchers as well, which for you, Fisher, bowling. What happened during one of his games that was being televised live? A, he was pitching, again for you, Fisher, bowling. A bird flew into his path and was struck, resulting in a cloud of feathers and the bird's death. B, it was a very important match where his team could win the series, and one of the coaches ran onto the field to tell him his wife had gone into labour. Johnson left the field straight away to go, and he got to her side, and obviously they had the baby and everything, but unfortunately his team went on to win the series, and his wife had a healthy baby, and everyone was happy. But he had to. The idea is that he had to leave there and then. He was obviously one of the biggest players in the, in the whole competition and everything.
Okay, so. If his wife had a baby, bear in mind he's 6'10", I think the baby sort of weighing at 13 pounds and
probably about my size.
Yeah, I have seen in cricket games birds be killed as a fielder throws the ball back in. There was a bloke who played for Yorkshire called Jack Rudolph, and in a game that was televised years ago, he was on the boundary, threw the ball back in, it hit a pigeon and killed it. So he kind of literally had to walk over to where the pigeon was, pick it up, put it at the side of the pitch, and every time he touched the ball throughout the rest of the game, all the fans kept shouting, "Rudolph killed a pigeon! Rudolph killed a pigeon!" Probably much to his annoyance. All the other options, obviously, the wife in labour and has to shoot off, which is very understandable.
Yep.
But I think with the speed that the ball travels, I think when you're playing cricket and you bowl the ball with a straight arm, I think generally the fastest you can get to is about 95 miles an hour, maybe a little bit more if you're going particularly fast. But as you throw the ball, you can generate more speed, so it's quite powerful. And I think you can travel at sort of up to about 150 miles an hour at times. So I think that he possibly killed a bird that flew across his path on live TV.
Well done, you would be correct. That was what happened. So there you go. And that was our live sort of TV quiz that I had for you there, and things that have gone wrong on our first ever live broadcast. Hope you enjoyed that, Fisher.
Yeah, I'm just checking. We've got 4 people watching now, and one of them's me. So thank you very much to the other people who've watched.
Apparently, you can times. Apparently, 4's not a representative figure, and you have to times it by about 1,000. But anyway,
I think that's when it's actually viewer interaction or listener interaction on your radio show and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, when it's just got sort of a live count of how many people are there. I bet you're glad you spent most of this week trying to work out how to. I
wanted to develop my own skills in learning how to do live broadcasts. So there you go. But I'll do it again because it was and I don't have to edit this now. It's all done and dusted.
Sorted.
So
well, there we go. Well, thank you very much for a good episode. We'll be back with episode 67 hopefully next week is the plan. Yeah.
Please do feel free to get in touch. Thanks to the people who have tuned in at various intervals throughout our podcast and wrote to us. So big shout out to everyone and to my mum for the information that I didn't get on time, but it came in just in the nick of time so that I could tell you the story about this sort of odd looking old fusty black cuddly toy dog thing.
What's it got around its neck?
It's like its sort of collar, which I think actually is from another teddy bear, which I took off another teddy bear to put on this one because the original one from this fell off or got old or whatever. But there you go.
Just looks like he's not very good at tying a tie.
Yeah. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, yes. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye now.